Hi, my name is Jovin, and I just read The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, and I believe it was simply simple, but in a really good way. Let's talk about it. Before we get started, if you're on YouTube, please, if you can, like the video right now so you can help us, get that YouTube algorithm going. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload here on the Go Local podcast. If you're on one of our audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, please follow the podcast so you can see when we upload a new episode of the Go Local podcast. We also have various social media handles such as Facebook and Instagram. Those are going to be down in the description below. And also, if you can help support us, you can support us on patreon.com/golocalpod, where for just a few dollars a month, you can support me monetarily so I can continue to create all this amazing content for y'all. So, if you didn't hear based on the intro, you can tell that this type of episode is going to be a little different. I decided to switch things up since I was running out of topics to talk about in the world, because you can only repeat so many things. And I feel like I wanted to branch out, see if I like doing this type of stuff more, and let me know if you guys like this. I'm going to be doing this series for at least the first 5 books of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So all the way from Lightning Thief all the way to... I'm like blanking out right now. The Last Olympian. Yeah, from Lightning Thief to Last Olympian, we're going to be reviewing each book. And it's just going to be a simple, straightforward video, just my thoughts. And yeah, so as I said, I read The Lightning Thief. I'm actually a really big Percy Jackson fan, but I haven't read the original first book of this series in so long, so it was a real treat. And just letting y'all know, I did read it off my Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy of that book. It's actually the only book of the original series that I do not have a physical copy of, and I need to change that. But I was able to have it on my Kindle because I have, I think, every single Percy Jackson book and Heroes of Olympus book here. So, yeah. But, from here into The Last Olympian, I think I'll be able to show you guys a physical copy of that specific Percy Jackson book. And let me know, guys, if you guys what you guys want me to review. I'm open to reviewing other series, other maybe movies, TV shows, any piece of media. Maybe if I have time, I might be able to sit down and do a video game, but this is just something I'm trying out right now. So let's just get into it. So I'm just gonna, for all the people who don't know what Percy Jackson is or what the Lightning Thief is, I'm just gonna give a brief synopsis that's actually from the official website. So, well, I'll just read it out for you. So, 12-year-old Percy Jackson is on the most dangerous quest of his life. With the help of a satyr and a daughter of Athena, Percy must journey across the United States to catch a thief who has stolen the original weapon of mass destruction, Zeus's master bolt. Along the way, he must face a host of mythological enemies determined to stop him. Most of all, he must come to terms with a father he has never known and an oracle that has warned him of betrayal by a friend. If you want it in my own words, basically, Percy Jackson is a tale of a young adolescent named Percy who finds out he's the son of a Greek god, and he finds out that the Greek gods and all the monsters and all the mythology still exist in modern society today. So that they've moved from Greece and then through all Western civilization, they have adapted to whatever the civilization is at that point. And now they're at the heart of Western civilization, which is America. So everything from Greek mythology, if you're familiar with it, everything's been adapted to fit what it would be like in the modern day. And I feel like this is probably one of the best things they could do. Rick Riordan really knows his Greek mythology, and he has very imaginative ways in which he incorporates the mythology into modern day. And we'll see that more as we get through the series. And I'm also thinking I will do Heroes of Olympus at some point. I might take a break after I finish these first 5 books, just because that'll be another 5 books, and then obviously I'd probably have to do Tales of Apollo, which is the latest series in this line of books, which, by the way, if you can't already tell, this book is the setting off point of a huge universe. And a bunch of spin-off titles. 2 titles in this main Greek series, but Rick Riordan's also done Egyptian, and he's also done Norse mythology as well, and he's also opened up his own brand to showcase other mythologies written by different authors, not in the same universe, but under the Rick Riordan Presents title. And it all starts from this book. This book starts a huge, it just explodes from here on out. But it starts with this book, The Lightning Thief, which I feel is so simple. It's just simple. It's just straightforward book. Like, as in, it's literally very straight to the point. Like, there's not much subtlety. There's not much room for thought. Rick Riordan for The Lightning Thief really like just makes you're literally always moving. The characters in the book are literally always moving, like never standing still. Like, actually, like he'll be talking through the characters. So it'll be an event will be happening, and the characters are literally almost always moving, always walking, running, and rarely sitting down. Even when they're sitting down, they're usually on a vehicle of some sort, so they're always moving. And that's how Rick Riordan just makes you feel like you're on this journey with them, because you're always feeling like you're going somewhere, that you're going to do something, and there's never a stopping point. Even when characters are just talking, you're always feeling like there's a sense of momentum that's leading up to something. And I feel like this is actually really well paced for for this first book in this whole series that he's made. And I feel like it's just so simple that anyone can get into it. Like, if you want to start these Percy Jackson books or anything within the series, The Lightning Thief is a really easy jumping off point. It's the beginning of the series, and it's really just so simple. I'm using the term simple, but it's really simple, but it's not a bad thing. It's like he lets you go on a journey with Percy and his friends, and you always feel like you're never confused, because Greek mythology is vast and it's dense. It's like, I think I have a Greek mythology encyclopedia somewhere around here, from a birthday gift, and it's like thick. It's like a real thick mythology, and Rick Riordan's able to guide you through that whole thing, and I feel like it's really good. So let's just get into more of the reviewing The Lightning Thief. So the first 5 books of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series are all first person point of view, and they're all from Percy's point of view. So that comes with its pros and cons. Its pros, obviously, Percy is new to this world, so you can live this journey through Percy, and you get to learn as he learns, and you get to find things out as he finds things out. If he's fighting, you're fighting with him. You feel like, because it's, first person is, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I said this, I thought that. But obviously, because it's a first person point of view, Percy does tend to be an unreliable narrator. You see everything through his lens, through his bias. And I'll get more into that in a spoiler talk. I'm going to do spoilers for these type of reviews, like at the end. But yeah, so Percy's always, we're going through his eyes, going through his journey with him. And I feel like Rick is able to guide you on this journey so easily through Percy, because Percy's so relatable. He has so many traits. He's not the most confident person in the world, but he's brave when he wants to be. He likes to defend his friends, and he loves his family. He hates some certain people, and he's a 12-year-old kid. When he's scared, it's obvious. He's a kid. He's scared. He's going to be scared, especially in a whole new world. The only thing with Percy being new to this whole Greek America type society is that a lot of people, especially in this first book, tell him things. I feel like because Greek mythology is so dense, and if you're a reader who's not familiar with Greek mythology, you're going to be, if you don't get any exposition, you're going to be so confused. But because Percy is new to this world, everyone is telling him everything about Greek mythology. So whether it's Annabeth or Chiron or Grover, everyone's dumping exposition on Percy at any time that he may be confused, and obviously that's meant to be telling the reader what this thing in Greek mythology is. And it's very simple. It's obviously not the most intricate or very not subtle way of telling the reader, hey, this is this part of Greek mythology, this is literally how it's incorporated now. But if you're just getting, this is the first book of what will eventually become a 15-book series. 15 books, I'm counting Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Heroes of Olympus, and I said Tales of Apollo, or Trials of Apollo. And it's ending this year on book 15 for now. So just getting a lot of exposition dumped on you, especially if you're not familiar with Greek mythology, actually works. And this actually is one of the reasons I'm actually really I love Greek mythology, because it's so vast, it's so dense, there's so many stories and so many things that are incorporated that you can learn. And obviously with all the stories of the quests and everything, from Jason to Heracles to Perseus, and now Percy Jackson, I found it really fascinating. And this is how I went into learning all about Greek mythology. And I'll just say this right now, Percy Jackson, Olympians, and Heroes of Olympus are two of my favorite series of all time. Not just like in Western books, and for a lot of you who know, I do love anime, but like with all the things I've consumed over the years, I feel like it's possible that the Percy Jackson series is probably in my top 3 most influential series on me in my entire life. So I really do have a love with these books. Though obviously I can critique them when I can, but I feel like these books are so well written, anyone can get into them. And you'll be able to identify with Percy so easily. Rick writes young adults so well. It's not like he's forcing himself to think back or think what he thinks teenagers act like. He captures what it means to be a young adolescent and how confusing it can be. And then just by incorporating just a little bit of the extreme of having, Greek gods as parents, he's able to really get your feeling, whether you're an adolescent reading it or if you're already grown up, that feeling of how it felt like to be a young adult learning this world and trying to figure out what your place is. And for me, it's a really good. Rick Riordan is so simplistic in his approach, but it's so effective. I would say that it's simple and effective. And yeah, some things I noticed while I was rereading this, he tends to describe people, at least in this first book, literally in ages. Like he'll say, oh, this 16-year-old kid from camp, or he looks about 40, or he looks 18. It's like very he's trying to establish what age a lot of these characters are, but it's like kind of weird to me. It's like it'd be weirder obviously to say like, hey, my name is so and so and I'm an 18-year-old person who's been here forever. But using Percy to look at someone and describe their age to them is kind of weird, especially because I feel like it's hard to tell what some teenagers' ages are, but I digress. That's just a nitpick. It was just something I saw. Again, lots of exposition told to Percy, obviously, because Percy's new in this world. He doesn't know much. And as I said, also, it's a lot of fast pacing. You're always moving. You're always, as a reader, you're always reading through Percy. Percy and his friends are always doing something, and they're never standing still. So you always feel like you're on this journey. You just keep on going. And while there is room for thought and room for thinking at points, it's not too much where it feels like the pacing slows down randomly. It always feels like you're always going forward, and I can appreciate that from Rick Riordan. So yeah. So my last thoughts before I go into any spoilers for The Lightning Thief. I feel like it's such a simple yet effective introduction to Greek mythology and how it incorporates into the modern world. Percy is such a relatable character. Rick Riordan writes him so well. You really do feel like you're a 12-year-old boy or 12-year-old kid, for in fact, just going through life and being confused. He just also happens to, have a godly parent, which complicates things more. But as a teenager, your life and all your thoughts are already so complicated, you can relate to him so easily. And yeah, so that's the end of my spoiler-free talk. So if you enjoyed the video, just comment down below. Have you read The Lightning Thief? what did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Or what did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Let me know down below. And obviously, we'll continue next time with the Sea of Monsters. And if you're done with the spoiler-free section of this, this review episode thing, I don't know what to call the series yet. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Welcome to the spoiler section of my review of The Lightning Thief from the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. So, as a person, I've read Percy Jackson, all 5 books. I've read Heroes of Olympus. I actually haven't started Trials of Apollo, and I was actually going to start reading that, but I decided, you know what? Well, if I just reread all these books, make sure I don't forget anything, make sure I refresh my knowledge of this universe. And, well, obviously, this book is the book that started it all. This book is the start of my love for this series and all the Kane Chronicles, which I've read. And I haven't read Magnus Chase yet, but I'm planning to next at some point. I've heard good things. And there's obviously a bunch of other books written by other authors under Rick Riordan Presents, but I don't know if I'll be able to get to that. So with The Lightning Thief, rereading it, I just have to say the movie did such a horrible job adapting this book. It's not the worst adaptation. Those go to Dragon Ball Evolution and The Last Airbender. Those are way worse adaptations of their source material. But it's just definitely the movie was just so Hollywood, so stereotypically, and it didn't have much respect for or it didn't seem like it was made for profit, not made with love, but let's just get into some spoilers. So I'm just gonna be jumping around because it's gonna be like my rambling thoughts. Seeing Luke as like the good guy for at least like literally 95% of this book is like so weird, but it's like he's depicted as like being like not the perfect hero, but just like he didn't really have many flaws, obviously, and it wasn't really hinted too much that he was going to be the person who betrayed Percy from the prophecy until literally the last few pages. Why I say 95? I don't know. But yeah, Luke, you don't really get too many hints of that. That's probably another gripe I have. You don't have any hints that he is the traitor. That he, besides the thing where Percy's like, oh, I remember when Percy has the dream with Kronos and the unknown helper, which ends up being Luke. He just says his voice is familiar, but you don't really. That's the only other hint is really when Grover's shoes start getting pulled into Tartarus, and there's some back and forth between Percy and Annabeth going like, huh. But there's nothing pointing it to be Luke. It's just pointing to like, oh, this is the real enemy that we're facing, which is Kronos, the Titan and the father of the majority of the main Greek gods and goddesses. And yeah, that's my only. That's another grab out of this book. Luke is just kind of thrown in to be the bad guy, and he just leaves, and then the book basically ends with Percy just like recovering and saying, "Oh no, I'm gonna go back to the real world, and we'll figure this out." Yeah, that's a little tiny gripe I have. Percy, it's really. He's definitely a much unreliable narrator. As much as Gabe is meant to be hated, Gabe, his stepfather, is really just like a piss poor human being. But like obviously through Percy's eyes, he's the most toxic, disgusting POS on the planet. But obviously we don't see him from any other perspective really besides Percy's. And even though he is a horrible piece of human garbage, Percy's tendency to like not really kind of be angsty for the sake of being angsty, like he doesn't know, he's like, I don't like my dad, or he doesn't like Poseidon, but he does. It's obviously an awkward exchange just because he just doesn't know his dad, and his dad kind of just doesn't really know him, and then when they meet near the end of the book, it's definitely awkward. but I think that's meant to be that way because it's like, oh, I met my dad after literally not seeing him for my entire life. I don't know how to react, and that's obviously understandable. But I feel like Percy does have this kind of, I won't say hatred, but this kind of like angst at times, where it's kind of like sometimes I feel like Rick still doesn't know the balance. He's like pushing a little too much. Percy's pushing back on all the Greek gods, his monsters a little too much at times, though it's obviously understandable because he's young. He's just thrown into this new world. He just saw his mom possibly die. It's really confusing for him, but it's like really he's just like, at times I feel like Rick could have railed it back a little, but obviously it's way better to push something and reel it back in than not go further enough and trying to figure out how far you can go, and then all of a sudden you've gone too far with it. So I feel like as I read the books, we'll see Percy accept the world more and more, obviously because he's living in it more. He has to accept it, but it definitely needs to. I feel like Rick definitely needs to rein in Percy's angst a little bit, because at some points it's just like, okay, Percy, we get it. You don't like this, you don't like that. But yeah, Annabeth. Let's see. I like Annabeth in this book. She definitely comes a little across of a, for lack of a better term, smartass. But I think that was the point of it. That she's supposed to be naively and believing that she's always going to have a plan. And most of the times in here, her plans do work, but she definitely feels like she's a little arrogant with her thing, being like, oh, I'm the daughter of Athena, I'm so wise. But then she can't, that pride of hers gets in the way of her reconnecting with her dad and stepmom. And while her dad and stepmom did not treat her the best, Annabeth rejects any advances that they try to change. So at the end, but by the end of this book, Annabeth does realize, okay, I'll give them one last shot. If it doesn't work this time, then okay, but I at least need to give them a shot. And I think that's Annabeth just letting go of her ego and letting go, like her thinking, I'm so much smarter and better than other people, even if that type of thing was just a little bit. She definitely had that feeling of superiority at times in here, but I feel like through this quest that she has with Percy and Grover, she's able to realize that flaw and she's able to grow from it. Let's see. Grover, he's good. I like Grover. He's a good character. He provides some comic relief, and he's not like too detrimental to the quest as one may see in other stories, but no, he's good. He's good. He's a good best friend for Percy. I'm just trying to think. The fight with the Minotaur was much more. All the fights were much more faster than I remembered. Like maybe because when I was younger, it was just like, I don't know. It just seems so much longer. But reading it back now, it's like, oh, this is actually pretty fast and concise. It's like there's no wasted motion, and I commend Rick for writing that way. Just because I feel like if it had been a little bit. Just even a little bit slower pace, I feel like it wouldn't. This series would not have hit the ground running as it did. So, Aries. Let me see. You're definitely not supposed to like Aries, but I do feel. Oh, excuse me. Ooh. I do feel that he's made to be very stereotypically the badass but coward bully, and in Greek mythology he is like that, though obviously for this type of book they don't give too much complexity to Ares, as I feel like Rick gives other characters and other deities later on. He's very much like, I just want war, and I'm really cool and tough, but he's a little bit of a coward on the inside if he gets beaten or hurt, whether physically or just to his ego. I do like when they go to the underworld that it's like they don't spare any detail. Like, I mean, there are parts where Percy's like, I'm not gonna talk about the other tortures I saw, but he did say there are people getting tortured over there in the fields of punishment, There are all these dead people going around. There's a sense of dread and anxiety. It's like Rick doesn't pull any punches. Rick starts off these books with a slightly dark tone, which I would say, unlike Harry Potter, which is a little bit lighter to start off with the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, depending on where you read it. Rick definitely starts off the Percy Jackson series on a much darker note, where it's like, oh, he thought his mom died at the beginning, even though she ends up being alive. But like, people in this world die. Like, he puts that right off the bat. People die. People can die. No one is safe, except for maybe like Percy and a few other friends. But like, he puts like, yeah, people die in this world. People will die. Monsters will die. It's like, and that's a lot to wrap for a young adult / children's book, but it makes you show the stakes right away. And also, I don't like comparing it, but obviously with the Harry Potter series, a lot of it was more focused on trying to build up the world, but in a school setting, and learning things, and slowly the adventure of at least the first Harry Potter book started to pick up. But with the Lightning Thief, I feel like that journey just starts off right away. Like, there's almost no room for just people sitting down talking. It's like there's always some sort of movement. Like, Rick literally writes like, Percy's going on a field trip. That means obviously he's going away from school to somewhere, and then there's fights and everything, and then he goes on the vacation with his mom. He's going somewhere, and then they're trying to get to Camp Half-Blood. They're going somewhere. Even when he's getting shown around Camp Half-Blood, they're walking around on like a tour, so there's always a sense of movement and momentum, so you as the reader always feel like something's happening. There's never a dull moment, even when exposition is being dumped on you, because you know everything's just it's all building up to something. And yeah, and obviously right away this book says Kronos is going to be the bad guy of this series. He's trying to get out of Tartarus and trying to take over the world, standard bad guy stuff. But it establishes that is the enemy, that is the main antagonist of this story, which a lot of other young adult novels don't. They like to keep the suspense of who's really the bad guy, where Percy Jackson's like, no, that's the bad guy. This is our goal, and eventually we're going to have to stop him. So that's... I like that about the Lightning Thief and what Rick does. It's not much more spoilers I want to talk about, because this is a very straightforward book. If you are interested, please pick up the Lightning Thief. They're obviously, with what's going on in the world right now, you could probably find the ebook or maybe paperback through Amazon. I'll try to put that link in the description below so you guys can go read that. I do highly suggest reading this book. And yeah, so as always, wherever and whenever you are in the world, have an amazing day. Peace out.